Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to yet another great episode of Bahrain Now, your source of local initiatives, happenings, talents, and trends. I'm your host, Khalid Idris, here to walk you through our exciting lineup of segments and personalities from around Bahrain. So don't go away, we'll be right back. Bahrain Animal Rescue Center is the largest no-kill shelter in the Kingdom of Bahrain. With a mission to save local dogs and cats, the center's growing team of various volunteers has helped hundreds of animals find a loving forever home since 1999. To talk more about that, we are pleased to be joined by one of the volunteers at the Bahrain Animal Rescue Center, Munal Daisi. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, Khalid. Thank you.
Now, I would love to hear a bit more about how this establishment got started.
Well, it started with an act of kindness, actually. A man named Tony Waters, he was an Englishman who moved to Bahrain, and he found an injured dog on the street and took that dog in. And this was in 1999, obviously. And then from that time until today, we're in 2023 now, it's just been a continuation of his legacy. Obviously, the numbers have grown tremendously. Currently, we are home to 300 dogs and around 120, 125 cats. And so, like I said, it's just a continuation of his legacy. With a mission like this, it's always people's goal to have the mission, say, outlive people, so it's passed on from one group of people to another. So it was passed on from him to another group of people, kind folks, and then it was passed on to us, and hopefully one day we will pass it on to another group of people that will carry it forward as we have.
I mean, it seems to be really rooted in like empathy, because it's the bringing together of not only people but also animals, like any living thing, and so it's really beautiful to see a community crafted on that basis. And you mentioned a lot about goals and missions. Now, if you had to explain your goals and missions to someone who was interested in joining, how would you do that?
Well, so our overarching mission is to rescue, rehabilitate, and rehome the injured, the abandoned, the homeless animals of the country. And that being our overarching mission and vision, we do have underlying goals that we strive to achieve on a daily basis. And I believe that one of our main goals is to educate people and to create awareness, not only around our animals and the centre itself, but also around the concerns and the problems that lead to having animals injured on the street, that lead to having pets being abandoned. Why is there such a big stray population? And so it all comes down to, in order for us to be able to find a solution for these problems, we have to address the root causes, and so it's very important to build awareness around those problems for us as a community to come together and find solutions. Because at the end of the day, yes, we are a rescue centre, but we hope one day, our dream is to get to a point where we don't need to rescue anymore, and we don't have any animals on the street. There aren't any injured animals that need vet care, and so obviously that is a far-fetched goal and a vision for the future. So in addition to educating people and raising awareness, we also aim to be a voice for the voiceless. Animals cannot communicate the way we do. They can't use words, but they can communicate in their own way, and so it is up to us to be able to understand that and address that in a timely and effective manner. And then ultimately it's about being a voice for the voiceless, but it's also about being a positive force for change around the concerns that I've previously mentioned. And so I would say that that's our overarching vision, and then those are the goals that we strive to achieve on a daily basis.
Incredible. And I really admire that there is consideration for the fact, because like you said, animals, they do communicate, but obviously there is I think to call it a language barrier would be an understatement.
Yeah.
But you know, we have the capacity to study them and to understand them. Now on that note, I know that I personally got really into animals when I was younger. I used to read about them quite a lot. Do you guys do anything that involves spreading awareness among the children or the youth of Bahrain?
Yes, of course, of course. Well, our children today are the leaders, teachers, policymakers, they're the law enforcement officers of tomorrow, and so that is actually one of our main activities. So, you know, we want to. It's a core value for us that we try to pass on to kids within the community. You know, we'd like to instill values within them that they can carry forward into their adult lives. So things like compassion, things like showing kindness towards animals, having empathy. Just respecting the fact, or respecting that, you know, all things, all living things or all breathing things are capable of feeling. You know, they feel pain, they feel joy, they feel sadness. And so before trying to instill values of compassion and empathy in our children today, we have to start with the fundamentals, which is respecting everything that breathes, you know, every living, breathing thing on this planet. And so with that in mind, we do carry out, you know, school visits. We do have presentations in schools, and we have students that come to the center to visit our animals, and you know, instilling these values in them at a very young age to carry forward into their adult lives. You know, ultimately we want our children, a child that is kind to an animal in need is definitely going to be kind to a human in need without having to be told, you know, you have to do this. And yes, it is our duty to educate our children, but sometimes children educate us. You know, in instances where you see a child that hasn't been taught or you know, told that this is what you're supposed to do, put out a bowl of water for a cat or a dog in this heat. And so they educate us as well. They show us and teach us lessons of compassion by doing things naturally without being told. And you know, it's very important to focus on children because they are the foundation of any generational shift that we want to strive for. And you know, sadly today the mindset is one of, well, it's just an animal, or it's just a dog, or it's just a cat. We have to respect all things breathing and living. And in order for us to achieve that kind of a change in mindset and school of thought, we have to target children in a positive way and just practice what we preach. It's not only about standing up here and talking to them and telling them 1, 2, 3, this is what you're meant to do. It's about practicing that and showing them without saying anything. You know, on a hot day, just put out some water for a thirsty dog or a thirsty cat. You know, that kind of act drives children to ask you questions, and then with your answers you can, you know, start addressing lessons of compassion and empathy and just showing kindness to animals on the street.
So I'm hearing a lot of amazing things about how values are being instilled in also a very practical way, because I think, like you said, when you show someone how to be kind, I think that that's the best way to do it. And like you said, when you do it to a vulnerable creature such as an animal out in the heat and you're giving them water, I mean, I think that that's it's a very exemplary thing to follow. Now, these days it's really hard to talk about raising awareness without talking about social media. So I'd like to ask you how you guys have utilized social media in your plight.
Well, social media is actually very important to us because, first of all, it's the most effective way to disseminate information and, you know, garner interest to a mass audience. And to us, it's like a lifeline because, first of all, it's very fast, it's very relatable. Everyone today is on Instagram and TikTok. And it costs us nothing. And as a charity, you know, we do not have all that dispensable income to you know, to pay forward to things, but it is the lifeline because we rely on the community to survive. And so being able to communicate with groups that already exist, so it's a very strong platform that exists with groups of people that are already you digital communities, let's say, that share the same interest. The infrastructure itself is very strong, and so our only job is to be able to identify these groups, be able to identify the groups are able and willing to help us as a charity, as an animal rescue, and then just tapping into that. And so we do use social media very heavily. We communicate needs like, sometimes we need donations of food, sometimes we need donations towards our medical bills. Sometimes we need flight buddies to accompany our animals to their forever homes abroad. And so it is vital for us. Social media is a lifeline for us, yeah.
So it's really promising to hear all of this talk about community, and I can imagine that without such an excellent team like it sounds like you have, none of this could be possible. So could you tell us a little bit about your team and how the work goes?
It is one, if not the most, the best team I've ever worked with. It's a group of dedicated, compassionate, selfless men and women that are geared towards a single mission and love for animals. And so it doesn't get any better than that. And it's people from all over the world, bringing their expertise, bringing their passion into the mission itself. Again, it takes a village to sustain a mission like this. So it's not about the efforts of 1, 2, 3 people. We do have staff at the center, and they are, and this is, it's an understatement for me to say this, but they are the pillars of the center. We wouldn't be able to survive without them. These are dedicated men that have really dedicated their lives to the well-being of our residents. We do have a team of main volunteers as well that are fully immersed in the activities and the operations of the center. We have visitors that come throughout the week or over the weekend that do things that range from, walking dogs, socializing with the cats, people with special skill sets that come to us and help us in terms of, say, fundraising campaigns or website work, or just little projects around the center and the infrastructure. And it's a community geared towards just improving the livelihood of the resident animals and creating a sense of belonging in the center, and just spreading that awareness around the issues that I've mentioned before and how they can be addressed and resolved.
It's incredible. And what about you personally? What do you do at the BARC? And can you tell us a little bit about how you first got involved with them?
Well, I started volunteering in 2019. I had just come back to Bahrain from studying abroad, and I was alarmed by both the number of animals on the street and their suffering. And it was summer at the time, so it was the worst time of the year for these animals on the street. And so I started feeding dogs around the neighborhood, and then I graduated from that to being involved in rescuing injured animals that have met with accidents and things like that. And then because this is a community, you're not working in a vacuum, so you are bound to meet someone from this organization, meet someone from another organization, because it's always a group effort. One rescue, someone sends a picture of an injured animal with the location. Someone else from another group goes out to rescue that animal, takes it to a vet clinic. Another group says, okay, we'll sponsor the treatment of this animal. And then another group says, okay, once this animal is healed, we will work on adopting, the dog or the cat out. And so, one day I met the BARC team, and here we are today, and just like all the other volunteers, fully immersed in the operations of the center. We do things like just fundraising campaigns on social media, going to schools, holding presentations, vet runs, even cleaning duties and feeding duties at the center itself. So it's a wide array of activities that all of us have to and lovingly just engage in for the bettering of the animals and their livelihood.
I mean, it's always nice to see communities that are drawn together by something so noble. And I'm sure that there are many people who look forward to getting involved with you guys. So my question would be, do you guys have any requirement? How would someone go about getting involved with working with you guys?
Well, again, this brings us back to social media and how much of a lifeline it is for us. So people would reach out through social media. We'd send out a form where like a visitor would like to come over the weekend, for example. You'd fill out your details as an individual, and then if you have any special skills, you know, if you're a carpenter, for example, you're a painter, you're a pipe fitter, you know, you're good with website work and social media and that kind of thing. And so, and then we tell you to come visit us at the centre. Right now our visiting hours are, because it's summer, it's 4 to 6 on Fridays and Saturdays. In the winter, obviously, those hours change to morning because but weather's more bearable. And so people would come in and we'd ask you, what would you like to do today? Yeah, would you like to walk a dog? Would you like to spend time with the cats? You know, we always have little projects to be done around the shelter as well. So we try to make it simple and user-friendly. You know, obviously we want as many people as we can get to visit us and help us out, help the animals out.
It's incredible. So there's a lot to get involved with.
Yes, of course. There's something to do for everyone. Even if you're not into, you know, interacting one-on-one with animals, and you know, some people have a phobia from dogs, which is understandable. Some people are afraid of cats, and so you can still help by doing things on our website, or you know, holding events back at school or at your university to raise awareness. So there's always something to do.
So it's very inclusive. Now, on the opposite end of phobias, if someone actually wants to adopt an animal from you guys, like usually, what's the procedure like? What are the requirements?
Well, again, it is done through, the initial communication is done through social media, or, you know, some people have our numbers already and they'd express interest. Now, with adoption, we do have a website with all our, well, at this point, most of our adoptable animals there. And so, you know, we'd guide people towards the website. If they have a specific animal in mind that they'd like to adopt, they'd come back to us and they'd fill out an application for that animal. And, you know, we start out with a visit to the centre. Come meet the animal. You know, if you have other animals at home as well, we need to ensure that the dog or the cat that you would like to adopt gets along with your dogs and cats at home. And so we start off with a visit to the centre. You get to know the animal, you see the animal, and then we have something called a foster to adopt. It is a 2-week period where the dog or the cat goes back to the adopter's home. And, you know, it's just like humans, you know, some people you get along with, some people you just don't. It's simple as human nature. And so that period of time allows both the family and the dog or the cat, you know, time to just get to know the surroundings, get to know the family, the other animals in the house. And then after that period's over, if everything has gone smoothly, then we finalize the adoption. We maintain communication throughout, obviously, to provide advice and support. And even after the fact, you know, after the adoption is finalized, for a certain period of time we maintain communication just to make sure, you know, everything's okay, and we're there to support the families and our animals. Another important thing is fostering, which is, I believe, fostering saves lives, and that people do approach us to foster as well, not only to adopt. And fostering is very important because it allows the animal, so we prioritize animals that have already been adopted, say abroad, and are waiting for their flight. We prioritize, or animals with medical needs. We prioritize those animals for fosters because that transitionary period is very important. So when you remove an animal from the chaos and you know, the busy life of the shelter, put them into a home where they're sometimes the only animal, coming from a place where there were, you know, a dog was surrounded by 15, 16 other dogs in one room, to being the only animal in the household surrounded by, you know, these strangers. I don't know these people. And so it allows the animal to decompress and acclimate to life in a home. Learn the rules of being in a house, you know. Some animals, I've had experience fostering. Some animals don't know what a TV is, so when you turn the TV on, it scares them, you know. They don't know what a washing machine sounds like. And so it gives the animal a chance to acclimate and adapt to life in a home before taking that journey out of the country. Because it is quite an overwhelming journey for an animal to have to fly out of the country. So we try our best to prepare them for that and for finally, you know, reaching their home and having a life with their new families.
It's really nice to see how comprehensive it is because, like you said, I mean, there's so much psychology that goes into even in animals, and it's amazing to see you guys actually really consider that. Even beyond, you know, your part as a shelter, you know, like you guys do take it beyond. You actually follow up with them, which I think shows great dedication and a great propensity for growth. And speaking of that, I'd like to ask, what are the BARC's future plans?
Our dream is to have a state-of-the-art, you know, modern facility for our animals where we have you know, amenities for them, just to give them a really nice and comfortable life at the centre before, you know, they're adopted. We'd like to have a vet on site. Now that is our vision. That's a far-fetched vision, hopefully, that we're working towards with the help of the community. Like I said, you know, we are not self-sustaining, so we rely on the community to survive. But in the meantime, while we work towards that vision, that dream of ours for our animals, you know, we want to continue to educate people. We want to continue to raise awareness around not only the centre and the animals of the centre, but also the bigger problems that exist with animals being on the street. You know, things like a responsible pet ownership, us insisting on microchipping your dogs and your cats, safeguarding them, making sure that they don't end up on the street, you know, whether it's because they've, you know, someone's left the gate open and they've run out, or, you know, the idea that pets are for life. They're not a gift. They're not, oh, you know, this is a cute puppy, it's a cute kitten, it's going to make a nice gift. People need to move away from that mentality and start treating animals for the sentient beings that they are, and respecting that about them, and respecting the fact that when you take on the responsibility of bringing an animal home, you are committing to that animal for life. And you know, just raising awareness around that, and continuing to educate people. And you know, we will continue to hold school visits and all that, because, you know, like I said, and like you said earlier, children are the foundation here, and so focusing on that foundation is, you know, the avenue for us moving forward to get that shift in mindset, and you know, hopefully realize our dreams for a better livelihood for both animals at the centre and animals on the street. You know, hopefully eliminate that problem. We don't want any animals on the street.
Well, that was very beautifully said, and it's amazing to see all of the hard work that you guys are doing, and I really hope that you actualize the state-of-the-art center that you've told me about, because I think that you guys deserve that, and I think the animals of Bahrain deserve that. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, and thank you for shedding light on this. You know, it's always important to you know, build awareness around these issues, to get people that are willing and able to help to come on board and help us realize our mission for the animals.
Definitely, and thank you to BARC for all of the hard work that you guys are doing.
Thank you for having me.
Viewers, stay tuned, we'll be right back with more. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've made it to the finish line. A huge thank you to all of our guests for joining us tonight, and another huge thank you to all of you watching us at home. As always, be sure to reach out to us on our social media accounts shown below. We love hearing from you. This was Khalid Hidris, and until next time, good night and God bless.